I used to fall in love the way a man dives into cold water. Full speed, no hesitation, lungs tight, eyes shut. And I would hit the bottom thinking, maybe it'll feel warm by the time I get there. It never did. But every time I told myself the same lie. This one is different. This one will see me. This one won't leave. And still, they left. Not with screaming, not with drama, not with some big Hollywood ending. They left the modern way. Silence, delay, a slow fade, texts that shrink from sentences to fragments, plans that disappear without explanation, affection that turns into politeness. And I did what a lot of men do when something hurts and we don't know where to put it. I blamed myself. Maybe I'm too intense. Maybe I'm too available. Maybe I care too much. Maybe I ask for too much. Maybe I'm not built for love. But one day, a different question hit me, and it changed the entire shape of my life. What if it wasn't my personality? What if it was my wiring? What if the problem wasn't that I'm too much? What if the problem was that my nervous system learned love as something unreliable, something you earn, something you chase, something you lose if you relax? Because here's the truth men rarely say out loud. A lot of what we call love is actually the nervous system looking for safety. And if you've ever stared at your phone at 2 a.m. like it's a heart monitor, if you've ever felt your stomach drop when a reply takes too long, if you've ever replayed a conversation like game footage, hunting for the moment you messed it up, if you've ever acted calm on the outside while your chest went to war on the inside, you're not crazy, you're not weak, you're not broken, you're attached. And attachment, when it's insecure, doesn't feel like romance. It feels like pressure. It feels like proving yourself. It feels like walking on glass and pretending it's confidence. Most men were trained early to do two things: perform, control, be useful, be tough, don't make it messy, don't need too much, don't show too much. So when attachment anxiety shows up in a man, it doesn't always look like clingy. Sometimes it looks like pride, sometimes it looks like anger, sometimes it looks like distance, sometimes it looks like jokes that cut deeper than we admit. A lot of men don't say, "I'm scared you'll leave." They say, "Whatever, do what you want." A lot of men don't say, "I need reassurance." They say, "I don't chase." A lot of men don't say, "I feel unsafe." They say, "I'm fine." But inside, the same thing is happening. The system is asking one question: am I chosen? Am I safe? Is this stable? And when it doesn't feel stable, your mind does what it was designed to do. It tries to solve it. It creates theories. It runs scenarios. It scans for danger. It reads between lines that aren't even there. Because uncertainty feels like a threat. And when uncertainty feels like a threat, you don't behave like a calm adult. You behave like a man who thinks he's about to be abandoned, even if you never say the word. Let's talk about what that looks like. It looks like overthinking that you call logic. It looks like jealousy that you call standards. It looks like tests you call jokes. It looks like control you call clarity. It looks like checking her social media, not because you're pathetic, but because your brain is trying to close the gap, to remove the uncertainty, to stop the alarm, because that's what anxious attachment really is, an alarm system. And some of us were born into homes where the alarm system had to be loud, where love was inconsistent, where affection was conditional, where closeness could disappear for no reason, where you learned to read the room better than you learned to read yourself. If you grew up around unpredictable love, your body didn't call that childhood. Your body called that training. And a child can't look at a parent and say, "Your behavior is unstable and damaging." A child does something else. A child says, "It must be me." So you adapt. You become hyper-aware. You become vigilant. You become the kind of kid who can sense mood shifts like weather. You become the kind of kid who knows when to be quiet, when to be funny, when to be helpful, when to disappear. Not because you wanted to be that way, because you wanted to survive. That wiring doesn't magically disappear when you get older. It just changes clothes, and then it walks into your relationships pretending to be love. So now you meet someone, and it's electric. It hits fast. It feels like fate. It feels like being rescued from yourself. She laughs at your jokes. She listens. She remembers details, and you think, finally, this is it. But then distance shows up. Not necessarily because she's evil, not necessarily because she's playing games. Sometimes she's avoidant, sometimes she's overwhelmed, sometimes she's not that invested, sometimes she's simply inconsistent. But your nervous system doesn't interpret distance as difference. It interprets distance as danger. So you do what anxious systems do. You lean in harder, you text more, you explain more, you try more, you care louder, and if she pulls away, you pull harder. And now you're not building love. You're negotiating safety. That's the loop. You chase. She retreats. You panic. She withdraws. You escalate. She goes quiet. And because she goes quiet, your mind writes the worst story. She's losing interest. She's talking to someone else. She's getting ready to leave. So you either explode or shut down. And either way, the connection gets damaged. Not because you're a bad man, because your nervous system is trying to stop pain the only way it knows how. Here's the hard truth, delivered clean. You cannot perform your way into being chosen. You cannot be impressive enough to make inconsistency stable. You cannot be patient enough to make someone emotionally available. You cannot be perfect enough to prevent abandonment if the other person is already halfway out the door. And when you don't understand attachment, you start thinking the pain is proof. Proof you loved harder, proof you cared more, proof you're the kind of man who goes all in. But pain is not proof of love. Pain is often proof of a trigger, a wound, a memory, a pattern. So what's the answer? The answer isn't becoming colder. A lot of men think healing means not caring. It doesn't. It means caring without collapsing. It means feeling without begging. It means wanting without losing your dignity. The shift begins when you stop outsourcing your worth to a reply, because anxious attachment has one core belief underneath all the noise. If you don't stay close, I won't be okay. And that belief runs your life in the background. It makes you read a delayed text as rejection. It makes you read a short reply as disrespect. It makes you read a quiet evening as abandonment. And then you react, not to what's happening, but to what it reminds you of. So here's the first skill. This is not motivational. This is tactical. The next time you feel that spike, that surge, the heat in your chest, the urge to send another message, do not treat that urge as a command. Treat it as data. A boy obeys impulse. A grounded man observes it. He names it. This is anxiety. This is fear. This is my attachment system lighting up. And then he does something most people never do. He buys time, because time is where your power lives. If you can hold your reaction for even 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, you stop being dragged by the old wiring. You re-enter choice. Here's the rule. Delay first, then decide. Not the other way around. Go drink water, go outside, do 10 slow breaths, wash your hands with cold water, and feel your body come back online. Take a walk around the block, because you cannot think your way out of a nervous system problem. You have to regulate. Now, once you slow down, ask this question. What story am I telling right now? Not what happened. The story. Is the story, she's leaving, I'm not enough, I'm being replaced, I'm about to be embarrassed? Because a lot of men are not afraid of losing her. They're afraid of what losing her means. It means I wasn't chosen. It means I'm not worth staying for. It means I'm back in that old place again. Say this out loud if you need to. This is fear, not fact. This is memory, not reality. That one sentence is a bridge. It connects you back to adulthood. It reminds you that not every silence is a threat. Some silences are just silence. Now, let's talk about the second skill. Clear communication without begging. Most anxious men do one of two things. They say nothing because they don't want to look needy, or they say everything all at once in a flood. Secure communication is neither silent nor desperate. It's direct, it's calm, it's adult. Here are examples that sound like a man with standards, not a man with fear. Listen carefully. I like you. I'm not into guessing games. If communication drops off, I disconnect. I'm not asking for constant texting. I'm asking for reliability. When things go quiet, I notice it. I'm open to talking about it. I'm looking for consistency. If that's not where you're at, no hard feelings, but I'm not staying in uncertainty. Do you hear the difference? No pressure, no performance, no threats, no essay. Just clarity, because a man with standards doesn't punish, he clarifies, and if the other person can't meet him there, he doesn't negotiate his dignity. He leaves with his spine intact. Now, let's talk about the part most people avoid. Sometimes the problem isn't your communication. Sometimes the problem is who you're communicating with. If you repeatedly choose emotionally unavailable partners, ask yourself why they feel familiar. Why does the chase feel exciting? Why does uncertainty feel like chemistry? Why does stability feel boring? Because sometimes what you call spark is your nervous system recognizing chaos. And sometimes what you call boring is your nervous system adjusting to peace. If your body is addicted to intensity, calm will feel wrong at first. Not because it is wrong, because it's new. So here's a ruthless filter for your dating life. If your anxiety spikes early and often, don't call it destiny, call it information. Your body is telling you something, not always about her, about your pattern. Now, I want to speak to the men who keep saying, yeah, but I've tried everything: dating apps, advice, gym, money, confidence, self help books, therapy sessions you have committed to, and you still end up in the same place: restless, overthinking, waiting for someone to prove you're worth staying for. If that's you, listen closely. You don't need more tactics to win someone. You need a new foundation inside yourself. Because the goal isn't to become more impressive. The goal is to become more steady. Let's define steadiness. Steadiness means your day doesn't depend on a notification. Steadiness means you can feel longing without acting reckless. Steadiness means you don't abandon yourself to keep someone else. Steadiness is a masculine skill, not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind nobody claps for, the kind that changes your life. So, how do you build it? You build it the same way you build any strength: reps, small reps, daily reps. Not once when you're inspired, over and over until your system trusts you. Here are the reps. Rep 1, build a life that doesn't collapse around one person. Men need purpose. Men need structure. Men need brotherhood. Men need something they're building, not as a distraction, as proof that your identity is bigger than romance. Because if your entire emotional world lives inside one relationship, you will squeeze that relationship until it breaks, and then you'll call it heartbreak. But it was dependency. Rep 2, stop rewarding inconsistency. If someone disappears and then returns and you reward them with 10 times the attention, you teach your own brain to crave crumbs. You turn instability into a jackpot, and you become addicted to the relief, not the love, the relief. Rep 3, choose repair, not charm. Charm is easy. Consistency is rare. Look for the person who can say, I was off, I'm back. I didn't handle that well. Let's talk. I care about this. Because every couple disconnects. Secure couples repair. Rep 4, learn self-regulation as your main discipline. Not because it's trendy, because it's freedom. When you can calm your body, you stop turning every relationship into an emergency, and you stop confusing panic with passion. Here's a simple practice. When anxiety hits, place a hand on your chest. Breathe in slowly. Hold for a second. Breathe out longer than you breathed in. Do that 10 times. Then say this sentence: I am uncomfortable, not unsafe. Again, I am uncomfortable, not unsafe. Because your body will tell you you're in danger, but you're not in danger. You're in uncertainty, and uncertainty is survivable. Now, let's get real about something men don't like admitting. Sometimes the hardest part isn't getting her to stay. It's learning to stay with yourself. Because when you grew up in a world where love felt conditional, you learned to abandon yourself early. You learned to shapeshift. You learned to perform. You learned to hide needs. And now you're trying to have adult love with a child's survival strategy. But here's the good news. What was learned can be unlearned. What was wired can be rewired, not overnight. Not with willpower, but with practice, with repetition, with support, with boundaries. And boundaries are not walls, they're standards. They are you saying, this is what I can live with, and then living it. A boundary is not, if you don't text me back, I'll punish you. A boundary is, if the communication pattern stays inconsistent, I'm stepping away. One is control, the other is self-respect. Now, let's talk about the moment where men either grow or repeat the cycle again. It's that moment right before you send the extra message. The message you know you're sending for one reason, not to communicate, to calm yourself. That message is never just a message. It's a nervous system reaching for a pacifier. And I'm not saying that to insult you. I'm saying it to free you, because once you see it, you can stop letting it drive. Here's what you do instead. You sit, you breathe, you let the discomfort rise like a wave, and you don't run from it. You watch it. You let it peak. You let it fall. And the first time you do that, it will feel like failure, because you're used to action. You're used to fixing. You're used to doing something. But this is doing something. This is the strongest thing you can do. You are training your nervous system to stop equating uncertainty with death. Over time, something shifts. The silence doesn't own you. The delay doesn't destroy you. The lack of reassurance doesn't erase you. You become steadier. And when you become steadier, you start choosing better, because you're not dating from hunger. You're dating from wholeness. Now I want to address the man who thinks, if I heal, I'll become cold. No, you don't become cold. You become clean. Clean in your communication, clean in your standards, clean in your self-respect. You stop negotiating your dignity. You stop chasing people who don't choose you back. You stop calling chaos chemistry. And here's the part that might hit you hardest. A lot of us weren't chasing love. We were chasing the feeling of finally being chosen. Chosen again, chosen consistently, chosen without conditions. Because somewhere in the past, it didn't feel guaranteed. So you tried to earn it by being funny enough, by being useful enough, by being successful enough, by being calm enough, by being low maintenance enough. But love that has to be earned is not love you can rest in. Real love has weight to it. It has reliability, it has repair, it has steadiness, it has truth. It doesn't require you to beg for proof that you matter. So here's the turning point. The turning point is not when you find the perfect person. It's when you stop trying to heal an old wound using new people. It's when you realize you've been handing your peace to people who don't know how to hold it, and you decide, calmly, without rage, I'm done doing that. You don't need to hate anyone. You don't need revenge. You don't need a dramatic exit. You just need alignment. You need your life to match your standards. And from that day forward, you start moving differently. You pause before you react. You speak clearly. You let actions speak louder than excuses. You stop accepting half love and calling it maturity. You begin building a relationship with yourself that is stable. You do what you said you'd do. You keep your routines. You take care of your body. You keep promises to yourself. You stop disappearing when you're uncomfortable, because the deeper work here isn't getting her. The deeper work is becoming the kind of man who can hold closeness without fear and hold distance without collapse. Now, let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're dating someone. She takes longer to reply. Old, you start spinning. Old, you start scanning. Old, you starts planning the next message like a negotiation. But new, you does this instead. You notice the trigger. You breathe, you return to your day, you don't punish, you don't perform, you don't chase. And if the pattern continues, you bring it up once. Direct, calm, adult. And if she can't meet you there, you leave. Not because you're bitter, because you're stable. That's freedom. That's what secure love looks like from the inside. Not constant reassurance, not chasing, not fear, but a man who can stay present without begging for proof. So here's my message to you. If you've been calling yourself too much, stop. The truth is, you are too alone with your feelings. If you've been calling yourself weak, stop. The truth is, you've been strong in the wrong direction. If you've been calling yourself broken, stop. The truth is, you adapted, and adaptation can be updated. You are not here to be someone's audition. You are not here to chase clarity from someone who stays vague. You are not here to beg for consistency like it's a favor. You're here to build a life, a real one, a steady one where love is invited, not required for your survival. And if you take nothing else from this, take this. The next time your fear whispers, if she doesn't text back, you're nothing. Answer it with truth. I am not nothing. I am uncomfortable. I am triggered. I am human, but I am still me, and I do not abandon myself. That's the line. That's the boundary. That's the beginning. Secure love is not out there in a text bubble. It's in your nervous system. It's in your choices. It's in the space between your breaths. It's in the moment you pause and choose dignity over panic. I used to dive into cold water, hoping it would turn warm. Now I walk in slowly, eyes open, breathing steady, and I only swim where it's safe. Because my worth is not determined by who stays. My worth is determined by who I am and what I tolerate, and whether I choose myself consistently enough that my body finally believes it. That's when everything changes. Not because you become perfect, because you become grounded. And grounded men don't chase signals. They build standards. They build steadiness. They build a life that love can join without being responsible for holding it up. That is the work. That is the shift. And if you're here hearing this, it means it's already starting.